What happened to that one student in your high school? I was a sophomore when Victoria, the once most popular girl in the school, returned after missing the first 4 months of the year. The entire class went dead quiet when she walked in. There's the girl who got railed and is now a mom at 16, someone yelled, cutting through the silence. The entire class roared with laughter. That day she was sitting alone in the cafeteria getting papers thrown at her. I tried to walk over to sit beside her, but my friend grabbed my shoulder and handed me a balled up page. Don't feel bad, she deserves this. She baby trapped her boyfriend. Instead of going D1 to play football, he's now changing diapers. I watched Victoria for the next few weeks, and I saw how her life at school became hell. Teachers, once fascinated by her kindness and intelligence, now looked at her like she's what's wrong with society. They'd answer Victoria's questions sarcastically, treat her like she didn't belong. And during an intimacy safety class, the teacher giving the presentation stared directly at her the whole way through. The students were no better too. Girls who used to copy her style now whispered "slut" when she passed. Her friend group exiled her immediately. She had to deactivate her social media within 2 weeks. But all throughout this, I noticed something about Victoria, and it's that Victoria never let the bullying turn her spiteful. I saw her tutoring special needs kids after school. I saw her slip lunch money to a freshman who forgot his. She always had tampons in her backpack for girls who needed them. Nobody ever thanked her for it. They just took what they needed and went back to pretending she didn't exist. Everything changed the day I decided to skip 5th period. My mom had been on another bender the night before and had hurt me, and I needed a smoke break to stop my hands from shaking. I went to the hidden spot behind the gym with no cameras to have a smoke, and I was halfway through my cigarette when I heard footsteps. Mr. Peterson, my geometry teacher, appeared around the corner. Everyone loved him. Girls giggled when he made jokes in class. Rough day? He asked, moving closer to me. I knew I'd been caught, so I locked eyes and asked him not to tell anyone. I won't, he responded. I've noticed you've been stressed lately. I could help you relax, he then said. Before I could process what was happening, he had me backed against the wall. His hands started sliding down my arms, and I completely froze. My cigarette fell from my fingers. Just let me help you, he whispered. Back the F away. Victoria rounded the corner with pepper spray pointed directly at his face. Her hand was steady even though her voice shook with rage. Mr. Peterson stumbled backward and tried to play it off. I was just checking on a troubled student. You're misunderstanding the situation. I saw everything. Leave. Now. The way she said it made him actually listen. He muttered something about reporting us for smoking and disappeared. I stared at her with thankfulness in my eyes. She told me she came out for a cigarette too. She wasn't a hero. Just right place, right time. Victoria walked me straight to the principal's office. She demanded something be done about Mr. Peterson, but Principal Hayes barely looked up from his computer. Mr. Peterson has taught here for 15 years without a single complaint. Are you sure you didn't misinterpret what you saw? He had her pinned against a wall with his hands on her, Victoria said. Hayes turned to me. Is that what happened? Sometimes when we're upset, we see things differently than they really are. Then he looked at Victoria, and his voice got even more condescending. Given your situation, I understand you might see problems where none exist. If you didn't want drama, maybe you should have thought about that at 15. Victoria's face went red, filled with tears, and she walked out of the office. Too shy or scared to speak, I followed her. I wanted to talk to her right there and then, but she was gone. I didn't see her for the next 2 days, but when she came back, the worst thing possible happened to her. I was in algebra when one of the guys who often made jokes about Victoria called me over to show something on his phone. I was reluctant at first, but he and a few others pressured me until I agreed. He opened up our year group's privated IG gossip account and told me to take a look while laughing. My stomach dropped. There was a post of Victoria, but it wasn't her. It was AI-generated nude photos with her face photoshopped on. I felt sick. Pretty funny, right? He told me, laughing and turning to his friends behind him. I think they thought I was one of them. I just nodded and left the room. I had seen Victoria earlier in the day, so I immediately went looking for her, and I found her in that smoke spot behind the gym. She was sitting on the ground, bawling her eyes out. I didn't even say anything. I just sat beside her and comforted her. And after 10 minutes of painful sobbing, she turned to me and said, "You're the only friend I have left." She then lunged into me. "You deserve to know the truth," she pressed against my chest. "My boyfriend Jake isn't the father. He left me when I found out I was pregnant." I couldn't believe it. "Then who is the father?" I asked hesitantly. "Mr. Peterson," she said before bursting into tears again. My heart dropped. That was the same teacher who she had stopped from assaulting me. Full story on channel, linked below.
My dad called periods disgusting. Then my little brother destroyed him. My dad's always been one of those macho men, thinks emotions are weak, and anything girly is gross. It's no secret he always wanted a son. He barely talks to me. But my little brother, golden child. Last year I broke my leg playing soccer, and when I tried to tell my dad what happened, he literally cut me off mid-sentence like, "Ugh, I don't want to hear about your girly stuff." Sir, I fractured my femur. Anyway, last week I was in the living room playing Fortnite with my little brother, when out of nowhere he looks over and says, "Hey, can I ask you something kind of weird?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "What are periods like? One of my best friends just got hers and I want to understand it better so I don't make it awkward." I smiled so big. Then I told him, "Well, first of all, they're different for everyone. Some people get bad cramps, some don't. But it's like your body's doing this monthly reboot and punishing you with pain and hormones for surviving another month without a baby." He laughed. And then I added, "Oh, and chocolate helps. Always chocolate." It was a sweet moment, but then from another room, my dad screams out, "Hey, shut up. No one wants to hear about something so disgusting. It's not a man's place to know those things about a woman." My jaw dropped. I was about to go off, but before I could say a word, my little brother just looked up at him and said, "No wonder mom left you." Silence. Like, entire house goes dead silent. My dad just turned and walked back into the other room like a defeated NPC. I was wheezing, like actually cry laughing. My little brother looked back at me and said, "So, chocolate, right?" I said, "Make her a goodie bag. Include her favorite candy, maybe some fuzzy socks. Just let her know she's seen, but you don't see her any differently." And in that moment, I realized my brother might look like our dad, but he's nothing like him. And honestly, that gives me so much hope.
What rule did your teacher break? I was in music class when I felt that familiar tingling in my fingers. I'd been seizure-free for 3 months, but I knew what was coming. "Miss Blackwood, I need to get to the nurse," I said, already feeling the electricity building in my brain. "I'm about to have a seizure." The substitute teacher rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. Every kid suddenly has epilepsy now. It's trendy." "No, you don't understand." The tingling was spreading up my arm. I had maybe 2 minutes before I'd lose consciousness. "I have a seizure action plan in my file. Sit down." She stood up and walked to my desk, but instead of helping, she leaned over me. "You know what my sister did when her daughter claimed to have seizures? She ignored them completely. Within a week, miraculously cured." Emily jumped up and ran toward the emergency button by the door. "She's not faking. I've seen her seizures before." The sub blocked her. "The only thing seizing is her need for for attention. Then she did something I'll never forget. She walked to the door, turned the deadbolt, and dropped the key in her pocket. Nobody leaves until she admits she's faking. This victim complex is destroying your generation. Call 911! Someone yelled, reaching for their phone. Phones! In the box! Now! The sub grabbed the collection box. Or you're all suspended. My vision was starting to blur at the edges. 2 minutes. That's all I had before my brain would misfire completely. The number my neurologist made me memorize. That's when my hated cousin Walsh decided to open his mouth. She used to fake seizures ever since she was little. The sub's face lit up. See? Even her boyfriend knows she's performing. She walked back to the smartboard and pulled up YouTube. You know what really helps with fake seizures? She searched for flashing strobe light 10 hours and hit play. Exposure therapy. If you were really epileptic, I wouldn't do this. But since you're faking, the screen exploded with rapid flashing. White, black, white, black. My brain felt like it was being electrocuted. Amelie screamed, "Turn it off! Photosensitive epilepsy is real." The sub cranked the brightness to max. Psychosomatic reaction. She believes she's seizing, so her body mimics it. That's when David grabbed his head. I guess he had photosensitive epilepsy too, because his whole body went rigid. I can't. The lights. Everyone lost it. Kids were diving under desks, throwing jackets over their heads. Turn it off! Turn it off! Malik was trying to cover my eyes with his hands. Please don't seize. Please don't seize. Ryan ran to the door and started slamming his shoulder into it. Help! Somebody help! The sub laughed. Sit down, or you're expelled. 3 other kids were now on the floor. The strobing was triggering something in everyone. Migraines, nausea, panic. Make it stop! Jenna was crying, hands pressed to her temples. Through the door window, Mr. Peter from next door looked in. The sub stepped in front of the window, blocking his view of the chaos, and gave a thumbs up before pulling down the shade. He walked away. This is torture! Amelie screamed. 1 minute left. I could feel my consciousness slipping. My muscles were already starting to twitch. The sub actually turned the speed up on the strobe. When I was in school, nobody had seizures. Now suddenly everyone's neurodivergent. Thanks social media. My body wasn't mine anymore. The seizure hit like a lightning bolt. Sarah told me later that's when things got really bad. My seizure was violent, thrashing, foaming, turning blue. She tried to turn me on my side, but I was convulsing too hard. She's dying! Sarah screamed, my blood on her hands from where I'd bitten my tongue. The sub stood there eating an apple. Oscar-worthy performance, though the fake blood is a bit much. That's when Billy lost it. This sweet, quiet kid who never caused trouble. He grabbed the music stand like a battering ram. Violence? Really? The sub pulled out her phone to record. This is going straight to the principal. He swung at the smartboard. Crack. The screen went black. Destruction of property! She shrieked. That's a felony! But Billy didn't stop. He turned and smashed the door window. Glass everywhere. David was having his own seizure 3 feet away. Jenna vomiting from the strobe exposure. Complete chaos. Assault! You're all going to jail! That's when my boyfriend Darren saw me through the broken window and completely lost it. He reached through, slicing his hand on the glass, fumbling for the lock. Don't you dare! The sub screamed, but Amelie and Billy held her back. The door flew open. Teachers came flooding in. Call 911! Someone screamed. Multiple students seizing! The sub was still yelling as they restrained her. They're all faking! This is mass hysteria! The paramedics said I was clinically dead for 90 seconds. They had to intubate me right there in the hallway while working on David 10 feet away. Turns out he had undiagnosed epilepsy. Miss Blackwood was given paid time off while her performance was under review. A few of the parents worked to set up a GoFundMe to cover treatment costs. Fast forward 2 weeks later, and we were sitting in science class when they broke the news. David's parents only managed to raise $30,000 of the $130,000 needed for treatment. He didn't make it. That's when I knew we had to take matters into our own hands and destroy Miss Blackwood. Full story on